Oh, thank you.
I'm like,
Thanks. I don't know. I think like थोड़ा हैफिज़ार्ड सा है वो सब, but I mean some of these poems you might have seen already. वो हमने
yeah.
2019 early 2020 में जो सब मीडिया में चल रहा था उसमें से.
I don't know. It just translates differently in a book.
Yeah, that's true. हाँ वो yeah वो तो है. It all comes together. So कितना वैसे काफी टाइम लगा पहुंचने में, right? Because
Yeah, I just got it like
yeah.
Abhi when I posted about it.
Okay, so I think we are live. Just a minute. Let me see.
I'm like,
I don't know. Okay, so I think we are live now.
yeah, it shows like, come on.
It does, right? Okay. Okay, let's see. I just wanna close some unnecessary things here.
So I found a few now. Okay. Good.
Okay. All right. I think we are live now. Let me just check with my sister here. Just give me a minute. Yeah, okay. I think we are live, Shringi.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so first of all, whoever is joining, welcome to the session. Um, I will give you a little bit of kind of introduction of what we are trying to do here, really, before we get into poetry reading and sharing our ideas and thoughts. So, as I think most of you know by now what's happening in India and all the kind of suffering and grief that is going around because of that. Families who are not in India, who are outside in US or UK or other countries, it's been daily about waking up to just devastating news. Someone in your friends or family circle passing away, or someone is hospitalized, or people are just looking for resources. So you're constantly in that fear and anxiety and uncertainty of what's happening back home. When are we going to see our loved ones again? That's that side of it, right? The other side, of course, more terrible side is the people who are in India right now, our loved ones who are going through that suffering right there. Um, Taking care of themselves, taking care of their parents, their children, their jobs, just on the go. And obviously, like I have a lot of like friends there, and I just hear from them every day on how they are just one after another, right? One after another bad news, and just maneuvering around that. Um, and unfortunately, many of us are turning numb. We do not know how to process this because it is impossible to process. But with these kind of sessions, what we are trying to do is that at least come together and brainstorm and see how we can start processing this unimaginable grief that is in front of us. While I was thinking about this, I think Jessica is joining us. Hi, Jessica. Um, Hi,
Hi,
Jessica.
everybody. Sorry. Oh, I'm gonna hit a background. Sorry.
Great. How are you?
Hi.
Good, good. Good morning.
Jessica, I was just kind of like giving an introduction to the audience who is joining, and then I'll just invite you and Shringi to kind of share your thoughts and poems and prayers. So I was just talking about all the challenges that are happening in India and of course across the globe. Really, you pick up any part of the world and a lot of challenges, right? So yeah, so while we are going through this, like really difficult time, as I was mentioning, I'm also noticing that we are not figuring out a way to how to process our emotions and where to place our grief really. And I think the reason why that also happens is that we do not have a pause in our lifestyles, right? We are constantly on the go. So there is no time to actually like think, sit and think that, okay, what is happening to me? What is happening to the world? So with these kind of sessions, at least that's my idea that, in these kind of circles, creative circles or sacred circles, we just come together and give ourselves a pause. Whether we say a prayer or a poem, that's another thing, but just to take a minute and kind of process what all of us are going through. So that's like the one kind of objective behind doing this, which I want to do more and more. So I can give a pause to myself and my community. The second thing I'll say in continuation to that is, think about this, right? The mental health crisis, what was at such a bad point even before pandemic. And so now, after all what we've gone through, all this trauma and the suffering and the pain, the mental health crisis is going to explode. We know that. People worry about, the what's the solution to this disease, and all the conflicts and so forth. But I think we have this very difficult and crazy challenge ahead of us, is how are we going to deal with the mental health crisis. And so I've thought about that, how as creatives and activists and empaths, how we can start preparing for that. Try to be at least one step ahead, and I know that's hard. But what can we do now to be ready for what is coming uh very very soon now? Once things settle down, we're going to see more and more depression and suicides and those kind of things. So how are we preparing for that? And I think this is again another way we can do that, is by coming together, by collaborations, by community, by connectivity. I will say this, artist mind is, and I have done this myself a lot. We tend to work in isolation many times, just kind of do our thing, make our own art. But that is no longer going to solve our problem. At least I don't think so. Our problem solving has to be now collaboration and partnering. And I'll give you the example, right? Jessica is with us today. Jessica is um, the founder of Los Angeles Poet Society. She founded it more than a decade back. And since then, she has been working just non-stop. And this is not a organization which is like, oh, like well funded. There is like a lot of budget to play around with. But she has just worked non-stop trying to bring creatives together, and she just kept going. And I was thinking about how why that is important, because she's kept the movement going. See, even when the pandemic started in US last year, early last year, I was noticing what LA Poet Society was doing. I will say they took their time off for, like, I would say a month or something, because everyone was trying to adjust to the virtual this thing. But right after a month, I saw they were back on. Jessica had started her virtual events. She was bringing folks together, giving a platform to the creatives and other people to express themselves. So I think like those are the examples which are so inspiring, and that is what we need to continue doing. We also have Shringi with us here today. I'll give you. She's another example in front of us. No matter how difficult the times are, she keeps going with her creative work. Okay. Recently, and we will talk about this more if we get time today, maybe today. If not, we will do this another session. She has been doing these creative workshops with children, with adults, virtually, where it's an intersection of poetry, game designing, art, where people are just coming together and just trying to explore that, the creative energy, the creative channel. So keeping these kind of efforts going is going to be so important for us to be ready with actually to process what we are going through right now, and to be ready for what's coming ahead of us in terms of the mental health crisis. The only last point I will make before I invite the speakers here is, when we see the world news today and online media, and listen to our political leaders or whatever, it seems like the world is really falling apart. And maybe in many ways it is. I do not want to sugarcoat it. But there is this general tendency people have, is that you pick up any topic and people want to take a side, one or the other. So we have come to this point where problem solving is highly polarized, and that is not helping us at all. That unidimensional thinking, one or the other, this or that, just is not going to solve our problem, because humanity doesn't work like that. We are not unidimensional creatures. We work with a diverse spectrum, not just with respect to race and ethnicity and language, but with respect to diversity of thought and ideas and perspectives. And so, like, working with that, like, I'll take either this side or that side, and working with that is not going to solve our problems. It's never going to work. The only way it will work is that we come with an open mind and try to listen to each other, work with compassion and empathy, and maybe then we'll come to some point. There's already a lot of damage done, but I think that might help. So that's another thing I just wanted to keep in mind as we develop this circle. Jessica and Shringi are doing already a lot with respect to their own initiatives, but I do plan to do these regular circles where we invite speakers like Shringi and Jessica, hear from them what they are doing, what their ideas and thoughts are, and just continue to build on this. And starting next sessions, we will also make it, I'll try to make it like very specific to the topic. How we can use our creative energy, for example, or some very specific topics, so we can just brainstorm and kind of try to find solutions to our miserable condition right now. So with that, I will first invite Shringi to please kind of share with us some her thoughts. Shringi, feel free to, as I haven't like kept any format or agenda to this. Whatever you want to share, go for it. And if you can also, maybe if there is time today, if you can also share some of your recent creative projects. You have many, but maybe an example or something. I think that will be inspiring for our audience. So yeah, please go ahead.
Thanks, Vaishali. Yeah, there's a lot to think about. Um, and yeah, it's really like overwhelming when we start, to analyze all that's going on and what is our role in it, and also balancing the possibilities of, I don't know, big personal griefs and losses and stuff. And so I think, like, personally, it is becoming clearer and clearer that a creative energy is the problem solver here. Like, personally, at least, like, even for a singular person, that is me. I can't say for everybody. Like, the only way to grapple with this is to push our own perspective, because we are at the edge of something here, at the edge of like like even Black Mirror episodes didn't go so far, is what I would say.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and when I look at that whenever you are at the edge of your imagination or what you're thinking, it is horrible, but it's also a place of utter uncertainty, not just in a horrible negative way, but an opportunity to learn how to grapple with uncertainty. And I think, as writers or as creators, any artist, we're always kind of doing that, right? We're pulling a perspective and grappling with uncertainty even within the words that we write. Like, from one word to the next, often we don't know what it is, but we take that plunge. And then if we look at words as stairs or just footsteps, we're taking one word to the next and we keep taking it, and we reach somewhere, whether that's um, to another person, or whether that's the end of a poem, your own conclusions, or some kind of shape to something that never existed. And I think that is really the beauty of art, that something that's just so intangible, but we work through it. And somebody was talking about a German word recently. I'm not going to remember, but it's something like antestan, I think. I'm not going to say the wrong thing, but it's about not knowing what the shape is, but through the touch and through grappling and through finding the shape, trying to understand what this thing is, whether it's a bottle over here, like just going through it without knowing the finality of the shape. And I think this is where we are at.
Yes.
And every day I'm like, how do I contribute to that, not just for myself, but like Vaishali said, we really need a creative communion. And for that, we need to embrace all kinds of artists, and we need to kind of encourage each other to keep doing this, to keep developing our skill of working through this intangibility or this uncertainty and learning to embrace it with some amount of, like, if you look at poetry, then I might use the word grace. Like, you're going through this this whole this whole universe of not knowing who you are as a being, whether it's the COVID or beyond COVID. Like when they say that you're traveling through this ocean and you're a single being and whatever, it is pretty similar to that. It's just become very apparent right now that you are this person and you have no clue what's going to happen and how do you swim that. And so on one end, it's obviously, it's gut wrenching, but on the other hand, I think art is the hope, and we somehow have ended up being artists for whatever reason, for whatever inclinations we have. So we have become the boatmen and boatwomen and boat people who are somehow, you know, carrying some kind of hope of crossing this, whatever it is, waters of unknown. And I think that is what my work lately has been very inspired by, to 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 touch and find anybody who wants to create anything, because we're all at the end of the day artists, right? Everybody has the capacity to create and the will to create, and in the moment of creation, no matter who you are, you lose yourself a bit and you become this creator, you become an artist. No matter who you are, when you're creating, there's a unison. So yeah, I just wanted to say that through COVID and through this time, that has personally become even more stronger, and like it's become very evident that this is what we need to do. We need to come together. We need to let go of our egos, of this is mine, this is yours. All kinds of, writing has such weird labels and such, like biographies of what you are and what you've written becoming your identity. But we need to like let go of a lot of that uh, attraction of what being an artist is, to really go into what is it to be an artist and how we create a level, some sense of equality in creation. I think that's where I'm at. And maybe with sorry.
One thing you very beautifully described, how we are trying to give shape to what this is, in the uncertainty and working with that intangible. You were talking about that with respect to the process of creativity and art. One thing I will say that is it actually is accurate even for processing your emotions, right? I think as I'm going through this with so many personally, I'm just sharing my story with so many losses and suffering. One thing that has really helped me is to try to figure out and just be in tune with my emotions and feelings, just trying to feel what exactly this is you know and I have done that through actually writing poems recently, trying to like give words to that exact unrest, the pain. And so it is that process, like trying to the process of understanding, starting from we do not know what this is to trying to get to something. And I think that I know you were sharing that with respect to art, but also with how we are trying to figure out how to process our emotions currently. I think that is applicable there as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like even small decisions in life, like what you're going to do next. I've been using this theory of, how I write. Basically, I am a writer who doesn't know one word to the next. I just don't.
Right.
And I'm like, when I can write with not knowing one word to the next and
Yeah.
let it happen, maybe I can live like that. I don't know the next move. I don't know what's going to happen next. But we can, pull that, not the whole thread, but one whatever you call it, atom of a thread
Exactly.
at a time. And while we're here, we can do that. We can get somewhere by just, like you said, making shape, finding your emotions, being in tune with ourselves. And I think that's such a key to being in tune with others.
Mm-hmm.
Like once we are finding our own voices, we realize that it's not the voice or it's not what you're saying, but it's your process where we all align somewhere, you know, like when I say one word to the other, you're both nodding, which is really like, it is the process of art is quite similar. Like we can talk a lot of theory about it, that some people plan, some people do this, some people do that, but at the end of it, so I think there is this common thread that we are in, and we need to really make sense of it right now, like really hold it and say, yes, we are doing this, all of us together. And how do we do it in a way that instead of becoming really, really anxious and, you know, mentally, of course, we'll have mental health issues, like there is no doubt about it. But how do we like work through it using our this kind of creative energy that we can move, we can find a word, we can find a breath, we can, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'll just add to what you said, one really just like realization for me has been, and as I told you, I've always like worked in isolation. Like I've just done my own thing, whatever, my art and everything. But my key takeaway from these recent weeks has been that personal healing and collective healing are not separate things. I used to have this thinking that, let me first figure myself out, let me just like really find my clarity, and then I will go to my community and world and I will bring these like great solutions. Not going to work. This is a parallel process. As I'm personally overcoming and going through this healing and recovery process, I have to do it with my collective, with my community, and in that is that mutual recovery. So this now comes from my personal experience. These are not even just words. So yeah.
Yeah, and like we are drawing from each other, like when you write something and even accidentally, uh you know, we just, Jessica, I feel so bad that we've been like rambling on. You're on mute. Please.
She will have a lot of time and space to definitely
Maybe
also.
I'll read something.
Yeah.
Let's get to a bit of poetry.
So,
I didn't know much of what to read today, but you know, like some time back, I had put a book of prayers together, like which I
oh,
actually got reminded of because of you, Vaishali, and this particular thing. So I'm opening this uh, poetry collection of prayers that I had written and finding something. Okay, it's called The Thin Line. I actually wrote it for your um, medium publication, Soul and Sea.
mhm.
And it was to do with the chakras. And so it's that one. Okay, my phone is doing weird things. Always, right? At the wrong time. The Thin Line. Here it begins. Ida Pingla Shushumna. Om. Muladhar. Knots open into a lotus, bearing translucent red petals. A lucid dot sits at its center. The journey begins. All particles connect. Om. Swadhisthana. A thin vermilion line awakens in my spine. White flourishes into a river. Desire condenses a silver moon. Life flow continues. Om. Manipura. The universe growls. I gather yellow dust. My eyes start to see. I am, I am, I am. Nerves catch the beam. The thin line rises on its own. Om. Anahata. The forest gives and gives. Plants seeds in stars. Love becomes Bodhi tree. And emerald hearts align. The lotus opens into 12. Its stem holding that thin line, carrying life. Om. Vishuddha. Song of the ether, combine in a fine string of air. The throat becomes a silent gateway. we simply pass through. Om, Agnya, Agnya. I reach a temple, completely see through. Here the three meet to open all gates of our cosmos. I rise without friction. The pellucid thread alone continues. Om, Sahasrara. Thousand golden layers must unfold. The oceans and the sky, the sun, moon, forests, ice, streams, meteors, and the unknown must unite. Here, the mute thread meets, transcends. I and you are no more two separate things. Om. That is it.
Beautiful, just beautiful. I mean, I've read it before, but just lovely.
Thank you.
Just going beyond that, the personal, the I, the ego, and transcending into something more.
Yeah, I think somehow this is what we've been talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to read one more and then we can. I mean, yeah, let's see.
Yeah,
Should I
and
know? Should I
I
wait?
was, yeah, no, I was gonna say, you don't have to do it, but if you have the piece online with you, you could also share the screen so people, but if you don't have
I'm
it,
reading it from the phone.
no problem, no problem. Yeah, go ahead, please. If you have some other pieces, also go ahead.
Try karo. I can try.
Okay.
If you give me a second, I can try.
Yeah, or what we can do is while you figure that out, maybe we can
Yeah.
Jessica say a few things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so Jessica, I'll kind of invite you now. Thanks again for joining us. I kind of gave a brief introduction about you earlier. So Jessica is a poet and artist based out of Los Angeles. As I mentioned, she's the founder of Los Angeles Poet Society. They are doing so many excellent projects. You can check out their, online, this Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Uh, to kind of find out about the upcoming events and other projects that they are into. Uh, Jessica has written books, and she was actually in one of the sessions earlier with us where she shared a few pieces from her book, and she's been, just published, heavily published. So I won't go through. I'm not gonna, kind of go over all her accomplishments. I'm sure you can just go and read it yourself online. But an exceptional not just an exceptional artist and poet, but just the activist that we need for the world today. That's what Jessica is constantly bringing the community together, working relentlessly. So, Jessica, take it over, please.
Thank you so much. At the moment that it's my turn, my son decides
No
he
problem.
wants to also.
You want to say something?
He wants to. He's just like crying here.
Can we
Oh
say
my!
hi to him?
You want to say hi? You can
Hi!
say
Hi, how
hi.
are you?
No, you don't want to say hi.
You look so cute. What happened?
That's Soul. Say hi.
Hi.
And that's and that's Luna.
Hi, Luna. Hi, Soul. You guys are so cute.
So cute.
Why
So
don't you
cute.
go, Luna? Alright, I'm gonna talk.
So,
Ah,
son of
uh,
the moon, right?
hold on. So I'm sorry. Maybe it's like way back. Let me see if I
Okay.
can get him situated. I'm so
Sure,
sorry.
sure. No problem. No problem. No problem. Okay. Um, Shringi, did you find it? Or if you
I
didn't,
did. It says host disabled participant screen share.
let me
Maybe.
see. Okay, let me see. Sorry. Let me give you the. Um, hmm, it's not giving me that option. What if I make you host? Uh, Yeah, I think I can do that. Let's see now if it's letting you. I gave you the role of the host. Is it letting
That
you?
works now.
Okay.
You can see it?
Yes, yes, I can. Perfect.
Okay, let's see which one should we read. I'm trying to find some prayer-like thing.
Yeah, no problem. Even the earlier one was really beautiful.
Oh, thanks. Sorry.
No,
Okay, I'll read this.
no worries. Take your time.
Is it visible? Like,
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. It's good. Perfect.
okay. The knot, Tantra, Sutra. I lost you in the chasm, Furzit, right where I saw you first. Drenched in the in between of water and air, in the knot of existence. Placid petioles kept the leaf and branch connected, Furzit snug between two lives, one of which would fall. You broke silence as though words weren't a stream of liquid sounds and I weren't a man swimming in your noise. It is in this gorge between time where we have left our promises collapsed, safe in the belly of falling fruits. The fruits will break, our vows will blossom. The nothingness between and beyond our two lives will remain in the gaps of this world as crystallized stones, placid gems held together by earth and the other, Fursit tangled in two lives, one of which would dissolute. Right in the middle of Tantra, the weave, and Sutra, the thread, embedded in nodes of air are deposits of our combined self. Right in the middle of Tantra, weave, and Sutra, thread, embedded in nodes of air are deposits of our combined self. You, the fiber sticking out of the thread, me, the irregularities in the weave, us, we, the traditional nothings, known as the knots or together as the knot. Placid ganglia in bodies made of sand combine unknowns. Furzit caught in two lives, one of which would interpose. Yes, the Furzit, where lies our absence in complete harmony. That Furzit, where resides our nurture in plain duality. The Furzit, where two moments split neatly at their center, show us the grand chasm in the string of time. Here, we meet again and again, even though we never leave. We circle even if we are static holes. We rest, love, and realign. In Furzit, we discover the median and the all.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I also kind of read this as a combination of both the intangible and the tangible.
Yeah, I think it's sort of trying to, you know, how we were talking about grappling,
Yeah,
and that is why I chose this piece, that it's a bit about
yeah,
grappling the thread
yeah,
in some way.
yeah.
So, should I stop sharing?
Um, oh, I think it just went blank. I don't know what happened. My screen is just blank. Can you give like the host thing back to me?
Ah, okay. How do I do that? Participants.
You just need to like go on my name and then click on more and then
Yeah, make host.
yeah. Thanks, Shringi.
Thank you.
Okay. I think it should be okay. Jessica is are you are the kids okay now?
I am so sorry. How embarrassing.
No worries, no
Just
worries.
the timing. I'm like, please stop. I was trying to be like, shoot. Uh, yeah, they're
Love.
occupied. So, whew, thank you so much. Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you for inviting me, first, Vaishali. It's such an honor to join you, and also in this time to hold a space, like you mentioned, to pause. And I think it's so important that we remind ourselves, like, just stop, breathe, stop. Clear your mind, feel your body, and just be in that moment. And also it's a way when we breathe and we exhale, we release so much. So when we're in that moment of of consciousness with ourselves, we really can have that intention to release the sorrow. I love that you mentioned that we're all empaths. I think that's so important too. And you mentioned emotion, and both of you had mentioned emotion, and I feel that partnership, that marriage of being empaths, and also we listen to our emotion, we follow our emotion. It guides us through these times, and all our lives actually. But it's even more, this tool that we have naturally is even more important now, and than it has been before, because wow, the pandemic is something that none of our families have experienced. Nothing like this, to this level, this worldwide threat. And I think when we listen to ourselves and we stopped, and collective healing, as you said, that is exactly what we need to do. That's where we come through, not only as creatives, but as leaders, because we're the feelers, we're the empaths, we're those that are naturally nurturing and naturally listening, and you know we observe also as poets. So I feel like we're so perfectly tuned in to be that backbone for humanity during this time, because it is a human uh, pain, a human trauma or crisis. So I think that's so important, and thank you for mentioning that. And um, what I wanted to share. What I wanted to share is something that we've been doing, and thank you also for that introduction and talking about the Los Angeles Poet Society. When everything happened, and here in the U.S., when we felt it in March of 2020, everything was locked down. None of us were forced to stop everything we were doing, so it was really, really hard, and there was lots of resistance and lots of uncertainty and fear and panic. People were doing all kinds of different things. So you're first trying to figure out what's happening, what information can you really trust, and to be accurate, and then you're trying to protect yourself, and trying to also block out all the noise of the people here in the US. We're going crazy buying toilet paper. It's just like, what was that gonna do when things really
Oh,
get
yeah,
bad?
I just forgot that we went through that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand why like that was such an issue. Use water, like if things really get bad, there's
Oh,
a
those
towel, a sock. It's not that big a deal. You can clean
are
yourself.
those are our priorities apparently.
That is so silly. I can't believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was madness. It was madness, and we're trying to all figure out how does our life make sense in all that madness. So yeah, me, like I was like I was crushed too. I couldn't do anything. So a month, yeah, it was a whole month where there was no LA Poet Society. There was just trying to figure out things, and also depression. I was depressed, and then we had that response. But it is in the collective that we are able to recover, because we need each other. Um, there's something that you understand that I might not understand yet. There's something, that someone else, has already come to experience that I'm just barely experiencing, but I find solace in that I'm not alone in that experience. So that's why we need each other. And our empathy, we're kind of like the scouts, right? We have our antennas, like we feel all this, and see where we can place some of our energies to start the healing process for different parts of our community and also ourselves. But we don't have like the entire answer. but together as a collective, I think that is definitely more powerful in thinking like, okay, I'm gonna heal and then I'm gonna come out 100% and I'm gonna help everybody. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. Otherwise, you really are isolated and you're out of tune with people. You're really just being the individual, So,
Right.
I found that that's very helpful to have that collective. And LA Poet Society has been a space for that, and that's I guess that has been our mission has always been to build the bridge, be the bridge between creative communities in Los Angeles County and beyond, because we do have connections across the world. But also, we wanted to be there for people during pandemic because we felt, at least with Zoom, it's a way to be seen, it's a way to be heard, it's a way to continue, and um, so we did do that. We did do that. Uh,
I will say a couple of things to what you mentioned. We are talking about empaths, right? And one thing also which has been a bit of a struggle and a challenge, and just something for us to be mindful of, that there is a range of that empaths, right? Not everyone instantly feels or absorbs things. Some of us absorb it way more, and to me personally, that has been a bit of a challenge, because I am like at my edge trying to, like, I hear a problem and I want to sort it out. I want to fix it. I want to do something about it. But you might not necessarily have the same energy in your, friend circle, or your, and so that time it's also like a little bit of like, you just don't understand. It's a bit confusing to you that, how come like they are not getting this, and I did want to like share that, because I've talked to some of my other friends, who have also felt that how come like others are not getting this, but I think it's just something to be aware about, to be mindful of, that everyone is at this different stage of understanding and absorbing what is happening with the world, how they're processing their emotions. Just to be mindful of that not everyone might be at the same stage of problem solving or collective healing or contributing to things, and that is fine. Just be aware of that, so that it's not heartbreaking or confusing to you, that how come the world doesn't understand. So I just wanted to share that, because that's kind of like a challenge we have seen. If you are an empath, you'll see that. The other thing I wanted to just share the memory, and I spoke about that earlier, but I wanted to say that again, because it's an inspiring story. I remember very clearly March 2020, when we were just starting to struggle with pandemic, and I was noticing your organization very closely, Jessica. For first 3 or 4 weeks, as you said, you were yourself trying to figure out what the heck is going on, right? So you took your time with it. I saw some of your posts about expressing yourself. I was watching you guys closely, but you took that month, maybe like 5 6 weeks, and you were back on. You figured out the tools, you figured out the virtual tools, how you did your research, and then you started designing the events and the get-togethers, and they just started working, right? More and more artists started joining, and so then that became a platform where people can come and express themselves during that horrible time. Many of the people were living alone, many of the creatives were, they were single, but that gave them a platform. And I think that's just such an inspiring story, and just really something we need to like keep reminding ourselves of, that those are the projects we need to execute now. So anyway, please go ahead. I just wanted
no,
to
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And really the success of that is all of you, everybody. It was just the community and different members that already were connected with LA Poet Society in some capacity, but just stepping up and saying, "Hey, I'll lead it. I'll do this today." Or I can do, a lot of times people are excited because yeah, LA Poet Society is now 12 years old. So last year when all this happened, it was in its 10th to 11th year. So there was already lots of people that creatives could talk to if given, if they wanted to take front stage, and we had all the social apps and everything, and so everything was kind of already there. Because and when we were live, when we were in person, all the open mics across town, I'd be taking pictures and posting on Instagram and our Facebook. So all those things already existed, but it was definitely a way to I guess being isolated like that was a way to for me to step back and be like, here, you have the energy, or you're upbeat today. This week I'm not feeling good. You take over the Instagram. You share your stories, and so then different open mics would pop up, and so basically different community leaders emerged, or folks that were already part of the collective, or and part of the LA Poet Society, were interested in, because it was also part of their healing process as well, but interested in holding space. So we had the resources and tools, and then the people started coming forward, and so that's why it was like one after another, and it's still continuing. It's really exciting, and the Zoom open mics and everything. I wouldn't want them to stop, actually, because I think when things get better, at least where I'm at here in LA, and it's kind of going, it is getting better, but I'm still very cautious.
Same
I've
here.
got to take baby steps, but I still want to maintain our online open mics, because it's just such a wide, and we cast a big net and everybody can join. It's very accessible. We get to meet people out of the state, everywhere. So I want to continue those, and continue some of our, well, I haven't figured it all out, but once we can be in person, we'll have some in-person events as well. Um, but yeah, it really was just the collective coming forward, and they lifted me up, because I was so depressed. Like my whole life was, my life's work is all about event organizing and being in person with people and bringing people together. So when that was eliminated, it's, where do I go? What is the purpose of my organization? So thank goodness there were people that were there that had that energy to, let's jump into the web ocean, and let's be seen and heard. And so I really owe it to them. And the other thing that we did, is something that you mentioned. I love how you put it. Madhuban, is that am I saying your name right? Or
So Shringi, her name is Shringi.
Shringi?
Yeah, but the her creative projects and
Oh, it's Underwater Madhubani. Okay, got you.
Madhubani. Actually, I will have Shringi talk about it. What Madhubani is, I think. Like Shringi, please share with the audience and Jessica.
Yeah, but Jessica, you were saying something.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying you put it so well. I love what you said about let go of the attraction of being an artist. And then it's just like, basically do the work that just needs to be done. Like let go of the ego. And I think Vaishali mentioned that as well. But I love how you said that. Let go of the attraction of being an artist, and just do it. Follow that. I feel like follow that instinct, that emotion, follow that your inner, your inner light that guides you. So as you mentioned, Vishali, we're on different spectrums of being empaths, and some are just well, yeah, I guess it's just all different spectrums. And some just kind of need to be nudged, like, hey, this is a good this is a good idea, right? And they'll be like, yes. They wake up and they're like, oh yeah, people are there also to be allies. There's some that are more in leadership roles as empaths, and some that are like, yes, I feel that's a good idea too, and I will join you, so that I'll come along for the ride. But yeah, I love how you said that. That's so important, and we each have our own strengths. Like I said, it was like the collective that kind of pulled us all forward with LA Poet Society to be live on Instagram and have open mic nights, and just different events, and that just blossomed out of all that time. Um, and
Yeah.
the other thing I had wanted to mention, and just kind of collective healing, and also in times of, because we're also here for India, and to hold a vigil, because the pandemic isn't over. Different parts of the world, things are lightening up. In the US, remember, not that long ago, we were on the bottom of, like, there were lots of deaths here in this country as well. And, we're finally kind of, the pattern of of the dying has gone down, and more healing has gone up. But in India, that's just so terrible, that it is just so dense, that the pandemic has not had, there is not control of it there. So it's very, so I do definitely want to have intention and hold space for, and have that pause.
Thank you.
I
for
think
those.
somewhere India really needs that pause, like it's like, of course, right now we are not separate countries, whether it's the UK or USA or India. Like the borders, the virus has obviously broken all borders, which is again a thing of utter despair and a thing of beauty in a way that, if something is happening in India, it doesn't end there. It's 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 basically a movement of something which is moving from one place to another. And somewhere we are not different countries right now. Right. But I think in terms of all the turmoils that are happening in India and have been happening in India, whether COVID or not, the country desperately, desperately needs a moment of a moment of extreme calm. Like we really have to dig deep to find our togetherness, like, because we've been so like distracted in our in the absence of our unity, that this is like, we really need to work for it now. It's not, it's not something which is just below the surface and we can access it. It has gone in deeper. It's gotten deeper in the earth, because I remember, like, obviously India is a very diverse place, so we've grown in diverse societies, and they've always been a little bit of tension, but also the unity that goes hand in hand with that tension, right? And I think we've grown with that as Indians, like, and we've seen that it's not like, it's not that it was never there, our differences, but there was a level of unity which was not too far below the surface. And I feel in the past few years, it has really, really, like, we now need to take our plows and just go digging and like really, really find our togetherness. And I think over there, like, that is where I personally am very motivated. Like, that is why, that is what my attraction to the country itself is. Like, otherwise, I really do not believe in countries, and I feel like as a person, I'm happy to live anywhere and find, like, it's not like you belong to a place or anything. But my one attraction, or my one pull towards India, is also just the necessity of artists in that place right now to do the flowing, to like to lead the way
Yeah.
of the conversation, moving away from disruption to togetherness. Like we were talking about Underwater Madhubani. Like, if I have to say that there's one purpose of it, it is genuinely inclusivity through arts. Like what Underwater Madhuban, which is my initiative, and I'm working with my sister-in-law now, is basically to give as many tools as possible to everybody to make things. And when you're making those things, just come from a place of nowhere, a place of absence, a place of absence of yourself. For example, the poem that I read, it says the word furzid over and over, but furzid as a word is not a word. It's not a word in any dictionary. It's a new word. And this is an exercise that I've been doing with kids as well, that when we take a new word, how do we identify with it? We're no more calling it different races or different, how do you grapple with an object that you know nothing about? Because we work with our prejudices, right? But when we take away all of that prejudice, because something doesn't exist, then how do you start putting, shape and form to it, and also accepting somebody else's definition? That is the important part of it, not just you defining something that doesn't exist. So for example, when I did this with kids, they kept asking me, so what is the right answer? I asked them to, come up with come up with something, and they came up with like absolutely beautiful things. I actually want to compile it in a small book, because I did this exercise both with adults and with kids. And they came up with like really beautiful things. One of them came up with a mathematical equation, and they said, this is what it is. And I was like, okay, great. So it's beautiful, but they were also starting to accept what other people say it is, and how other kids are pronouncing it. So their pronunciation is not the right pronunciation, right, or their meaning is not the right meaning. And Underwater Madhuban, somewhere at the soul of it, is trying to do this, is trying to come up with like different DIY kits, or digital and analog kits for games or filmmaking, where the central thing is, to somehow experiment with things in a way that you start seeing that things, when they're different, they don't have to fight with each other. Right. Like even as artists, we do that a lot. Like we think that we have to fight with what's existing, you know, like we have to compete with what's existing. But there is something to be, and that is what I have seen, like because I teach game design as well. Like a lot of young artists or even older ones like us, me, let's just talk about me. Like all of us, like we struggle with, oh, but they have so many publications and I don't. So what is my value? And like there is this sense of competition of, I mean, I have struggled with it, and I'm sure like most artists do in some moments, that we're talking about. Like I was talking to somebody, and I was like, just write a bio, and she was like, yeah, but bios are so CV, like we have to pose how amazing we are. I was like, you could write, I like water or something like that. That's also a bio. Like, it doesn't have to be something that is your, like it's up to you. And I think
Right.
we're really, really somewhere artists who are here to help us finding the togetherness are also, getting really distracted by these, which category do I fall into? Am I the Insta poet, or am I this? If I've not won awards, or if I've not published, what does it mean? And I think in that, a lot of us kind of lose our own personal mojo, which makes your art stand out, which makes it the unique thing that you need to accept about somebody. Because for acceptance, you need to allow yourself to be diverse, right? Like if you allow yourself to not really fall into a category, you'll also allow other people to go like, okay, this is not a category, this whole, for example, in India, if we talk about Hindu Muslim rights and stuff, we start seeing that people are individuals. But if we ourselves are trapped into categorizing ourselves, then how do we, so I think that is where this, I would say, the intention of Underwater Madhubani lies. I don't know if we're able to do that. Like I'm trying. So one of the projects that we're doing that Vaishali is also part of is called Our Poem. And it's basically any artist that I find any kind of connection with, even momentarily, they're joining a poem which is like a river. So one flows to the next. And the idea is to have your authorship, but also let it go. So you are an individual in your piece, but when the thing comes together, that doesn't belong to any of you. And even while holding our individuality, we can create something which belongs to something more than just these 15 people. It belongs to, like, it's called Our Poem, so it belongs to everybody. So I think this is what I'm trying, but I'm also like finding it incredibly hard sometimes to break into the mental space of, because Vaishali, you were talking about empathy, and very recently I was listening to somebody who was like, we no more need to be empathetic, we need to be compassionate, and these are two different things. And I was like, we've not even come to a place to understand empathy, and we're already like rejecting it for the next adjective.
Oh
And
my
this
God.
truly is I mean, no matter how much we want to be evolved, this truly is the world in some sense that we're living in and constantly consuming, which is a trend-based world saying, okay, empathy is out of trend. The new trend is compassion. And you're like,
Hashtag.
Next.
yeah. And yeah, so, it's absurd. The world that we're living in is so absurd. And that is why what you're doing, Jessica, is just, and your energy, to be honest, I'm just sitting here and listening to you talk. It's just like, I'm like, yeah, we need you. We really need you right now, because you have this amazing, like, I don't know, I feel it just sitting here with your, like, I don't want to just call it positivity, because it's almost like you're in motion towards doing something which is so important, and you're doing it with such guts. So really, like, hats off to you, to be honest. We really need people like you to show us the light, because you're carrying the light, really, quite literally. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's really inspiring, to be honest. And this is why we need each other, right? Like, because we need, like today I came here, I was not expecting to be like really inspired, but now here I am and I'm listening to you and I'm like, what a light. And, so that is also such a huge part of just camaraderie, which I personally believe in a lot, like artist camaraderie, because a lot of my writing is pulled from artists I admire, whether they're contemporary or they're known or they're unknown, like somebody's work just sparks something, watching a movie and something happens. So in the end, we are pulling from each other so much. We're just not acknowledging it in a way that's healthy sometimes, like we need to start crediting, start acknowledging, start working together, and just let go a bit of, I don't know, this innate need to be the ego of of the world, which really like distracts you when you're getting rejected over and over. Like I literally last month I've gotten rejected 5 times, and I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
But what do you do then? Do you stop being yourself? Do you start like that? That is what is keeping this alive. Every artist's quest of still wanting to be themselves, irrespective of the tides, is somewhere pulling us to embrace our self, the uniqueness. And I personally like truly believe that when we embrace that in ourselves, our personal uniqueness, whatever that is, wherever it takes us, we really do start embracing it in what we don't understand, because we know that parts of us are not understood even by ourselves. Like we are constantly surprising ourselves. So how do we expect to grapple with another being which is not only not like not us, but they're also unique in a way that we can't even imagine, because there's so much inside all of us, like the whole entire universe. How do we even imagine to start judging somebody or start labeling them or start, like, no matter how starkly wrong they sound on the surface, we still can't say that this is all that is to them. And I think somewhere we need to find, when we're talking about empathy, we really need to find that, I don't know, the common thread to start forgiving each other for not being us, for not imitating our own voices and our thought process, because that's what we're really struggling with, aren't we? Like if somebody doesn't have the same political views than us, or if somebody is, yeah, just different, we are not in a state to accept that at all. Like
Yeah.
even I am not able to do, like, even if I talk about it so much,
Yeah.
it's just in the moment you read something, you go like, you're an idiot.
And I think it also, like, how you were saying, by the way, thanks for sharing your projects, talking about it. That itself is, very inspiring. How you were saying when you're working with the kids and the adults, and how there is this obsession with like finding the right answer. That is our culture, right? Finding, and that connects with with why we are where we are with the polarized world we have today. Because people think like, yeah, there can be one solution, one right answer, and they just work around that,
Mm.
missing the entire, the fact that that's not how humanity works. As you said, universe is within us. There is just so much going on. There is so much of complexity, so much of mystery, so much of mysticism, and we think we can solve it by this ABCD menu options. That's just not going to work, right? So I think, but as you said, Shringi, I think all of us struggle with it, and we just have to have that personal mindfulness and realization to break those patterns we are so conditioned and programmed with right now, and then move on to the next level. Basically, that's all what I can say.
The beauty with the kids was that, so they asked, right, what is the right answer?
Yeah.
And then when I said that there is no right answer, because they're kids, they're 8-year-olds, right? And they're like, oh, like there wasn't a contention to it. They were
Right.
like, okay, the rules of the game is that that this is, but that was their first reaction, to get validation of whether what's correct or not. But once they understood that there is no right answer, then I remember one of the students said, oh, in that case, I'm going to pronounce it like this. And I was like, good. Like, we started getting there. And I think that is the beauty with kids. They
Yeah.
adapt
Oh yeah.
to, they're not looking for, some kind of extreme logical right.
Yeah. I think with kids, they're with youth, they're themselves, they're being their genuine self. But then they have the adults, I guess, that are, oh no, shape over here, no, shape over there. You got to stay in these lines, as far as their personalities and development of what is, uh, you don't want to be too extreme, right? You want to kind of get them in the middle, but that's where what messes us all up, trying to get us, navigate us all along that same pattern, like what you were saying, Vaishali, like the ABCD, when we are so, I mean, yes, there's so much to us that we don't even, we don't even understand. And like you said, we impress ourselves. And, honestly, yeah, that, like as you said, the universe is in us. We all have that power, that the power to create, that goddess power, that God power. And that is our energy. It's our own natural light, who we are. And it's magic, and we need to keep that on for everybody, and children already have it on. They hadn't turned it off because they're straight from the source of life, they're or they're closer from the source of life, so they still have all those beautiful, um just all that dimension is just still open in them, and I think that's so funny that they want to know and make sure that they're doing the right thing. But I love that they got like, hey, there's no right answer. And that's kind of how I teach poetry. There's no wrong way to write a poem. It just has to come from you. You just open up and express. There's
Yeah,
there's no wrong way
yeah,
to do it.
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, just be.
I think one other thing, I'll pick on that word, Shringi. You know how you were saying like validation, right? I think that's also another thing why we are at this place, because the society rewards certain specific answers. So that's why even starting from just childhood, people look for that. If I give the right answer, I will get validated. If I write a certain type of poem, that's what's going to get accepted. So again, that's like this pattern that we have to work on breaking. And I just wanted to point on that specific word which Shringi used, because that validation is also kind of a problem we have, which we have to also keep in mind as we solve these things.
Yeah, yeah, because if we accept other people's truth, which is that validation, we're gonna just keep ourselves down. I remember when, well, since I was 12, I always wanted to be a poet. So that was my life dream, and yay, I'm a poet. But when I was going in the university, going for my bachelor's degree, I didn't ever submit my poems for publication anywhere. I'm like, well, I would think, I am not a poet yet. I don't have my degree yet. My professors haven't made me a full poet yet. I don't know
Yeah.
all those years I wasted. I could have been a young up and coming writer at 19, 20. No, I waited so long, and all that time wasted.
Right.
Waiting on someone's, patting me on the head and saying, "You are a poet. Go ahead and submit your work."
Exactly.
So, it's all about empowering each other. We have it in us already, and we don't need someone to give us permission. And we're so used to waiting
I
for
think
that.
specifically, like when you say poetry, sorry for cutting you, but just I wanted to add to that particular point. Like I think poetry specifically is just so pure. Like because there is no demands from a poem at all. Like from a story, there is still a demand, right? That we want to know what happened, something. Like, and when I see so many, academics and other places who tell, I'll teach you how to write poetry, or this is how a title should be, like something really small always dies in me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's too soon. It's like, when we're talking about children and asking them what the right thing is, it's too soon we tell them what not to say and what to say, what is the right behavior. It's just sometimes, it's just, you will find it out, because that's the stream of water. Eventually, for it to flow, it will find its way to flow.
Right.
Like it will. That's the force of life and nature, that we will find the ways to exist without being hurt too much and stuff. So similarly, the kids will find their way of what, how to say, what to say, where to say. and we will find our flow. But this is where, like, I think poetry has the power to disrupt any kind of systemic rules around language, anything. Like, it can break. It's just like, that's what I love about Vaishali's poem. They just break every dimension of what you expect, and to hold that back, to say that this is how you should enter it and this is how it should be, I just feel like like, I'm like, leave poetry alone, like, do it to anything, somewhere, because I'm artist of other sorts as well. And I feel like game design, sometimes it has structural, sometimes it needs something, some tools, technology, structure, whatever. But like, when I look at poetry, it genuinely doesn't even need you to be able to write. It needs nothing for it to exist through you. It could be your eyes, and it could be just anything that is always telling a poem. So when we start talking about how to design a title, because the greatest, like, poetry societies, they constantly have these advertisements of join us and our poets will tell you how to fix your poem. And I'm like, can you leave it, because I'm really hoping to read that. So if we stop fixing it, we'll probably find some raw energy which actually honestly doesn't make through. Like, it just doesn't make through, because this pressure of the system will never be as ahead as a person's evolution, right? Because you are like at a breakthrough moment every time. How will a system catch up to something that it doesn't even understand? And it is, and if the system starts understanding it, then it has to teach it to everybody. That's the nature of the system. Oh, a good poem is impressionism or something, and now everybody has a template to do it. That takes a lot of time. How can it ever catch up to an individual's moment of breakthrough? So obviously it will tell you, don't do that, do this. And we lose so many artists, from children to like adults, at every stage, in every publication, in every collection you submit. We lose either artists, or we lose the sparks of individuals. And I just, like, that is something that really, honestly, if there's something that really breaks my heart, it is that. Like, it really is that. Like, it's just sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jessica, so I'm sorry, we kind of like went into like the part of which is
That's okay. We're connecting.
these are important. Like these are the things we have to talk about, But do
Yeah.
you want to share any of your poems or any, any reading or
Yeah, actually, I wanted to share a poem, and then also I wanted to also mention back on the point of unifying people and offering hope to people during times like this, a pandemic where everyone is, or well, not even pandemic, in a time of trauma, in a time of distress. A way that LA Poet Society, the way that we stepped up to the call was also by launching LA Poet Society Press. So we actually launched a small press at the tail end of 2020. And we've had poetry workshops last year, and that also continued this year, called Love Letters to 2020. And so we also offered that. So that what that is, it's a series of poetry workshops working through the traumas of 2020 um, in um, in three tiers. First, by confronting the trauma. And so we did this at the end of 2020, and then we did another cohort this year that just ended. So we're going to continue to offer this series ongoing as long as it takes, so folks can join anytime. But it is a way to process everything that happened last year, or try to process some of it. But it's by confronting the trauma and acknowledging the positives, acknowledging the personal wins, because in that trauma there were lights, there were things that were positive, and they might have looked different to people than they've ever seen before, but there were positives. So acknowledge the positive, and then rebuilding to the future. So and then through poetics, it takes us through learning about elegies, so mourning something that is gone, that's past, that's died. And then odes, praise poems, so acknowledging the positives. And then the epiphany poems, declarations, of the aha moments, the enlightenment. So that's the series. So I've been, so that's something that we've been doing as an organization to help heal the collective. And not, and that's everyone in the world can be part of what we're doing. It's totally inclusive to all humans. And as you were mentioning, I'm definitely one of those believers. Yes, no borders. It's one, like, this is Mother Earth, and we're brother and sister human. Very simple. I like to keep it very simple. And with that, we're different, we're unique, but that's what we are. We're human. We're the human animal that inhabits the earth. So, with that, we're all equal. We're the species of human beings. That's it. And that's what I believe in, and that's that attitude that I try to convey in all the events that we do. But with that, with those workshops, we published chapbooks of the work that was produced in those in that series. So we've done that twice now. So fast forward, here in Los Angeles, or here in the United States, the racism and hatred of Black people, the white supremacy, or by Caucasian people, seems mostly, but that white supremacy foundation of the U.S. is hasn't gone anywhere, and was very, very present. We all saw George Floyd get killed, and that was in May. So that actually, I think it's going to be a year in a few days. I think it was the 24th, I think, when he passed. But nevertheless, I felt helpless because as an activist, so the artist and the activist, the artivism, I wanted to be out there in the streets. I wanted to make emotion physically present, and I couldn't be. So that was really, really bothering me, because the type of person I am, being that empath, being that, already an activist in community, my place was to be out there, and I felt trapped, and I wanted to do something loud, because I was in pain, and the world is in pain, or the United States is in pain. And so what we did was we decided to launch a call for work from anybody everywhere, a call to humanity to speak on the affairs of the world, especially after the brutal murder that we all witnessed. So that launched this book. So our press, we are so proud, but we published Los Angeles Poets for Justice, a document for the people. And this is a call to action to humanity to bear witness and share their stories and interpretations of the affairs of the world in 2020, and especially after the brutal murder of George Floyd. So this was our call to action, and that's what I wanted to hear from everyone. Like, we were seeing it, and some folks were out in the street protesting. Some were just home, kind of trapped as I was. So we were seeing that, and then also dealing with the pandemic of people dying, getting sick, and all this other stuff. So it was just so much pain, and so we launched this call as a way to hear our voices, to share stories, but also to know that we're not alone, like, at least for me personally, I wanted to know that there's others that are thinking this is really horrible, and really do a physical movement for change. So we're really proud of this book. So our press came up out of everything, and this anthology came out, and it's all color, and it includes artwork and photography, and I don't know if you can see any of that, but poetry, and also just anything, writings. So we have 14-year-olds, 12-year-olds, all the way to mature adulthood in this book. We have people from Uruguay, the UK in this book, and across the nation here in the United States. So I think we have about over 60 contributors in total. And in this book, I feel is very strong, because what we're getting is, we're hearing from someone who's a white woman in the United States saying, my Black friend comes with me, and we go to the coffee shop, and they're all looking at him. I'm the one with bright pink hair and tattoos, but they look at him. why do they look at him when I chose to, like, I'm the spectacle, he's just a guy, but she's saying that out loud. We need to hear that. And we have a young man who's 14 saying, I'm black. I saw George Floyd die in front of me. What does that tell me in my country? You know, we need to hear that story. We need to hear the story of a woman who has a son who's multiracial, and now she's scared for him because of his skin. We need to hear that. So the goal of this book is to get this story to everyone around the world, is to everybody, in everyone's hands, so that we can break down those barriers of intolerance and miscommunication. Maybe we just need to stop to listen to each other. So that's another way that we're trying to have collective healing and also provide an outlet for people to be heard. I feel like we just need to talk to each other, and we can really mend so much of that, of these relationships, and really come to understand each other, because we are just brother, sister, human inhabiting planet Earth, and we have such a short amount of time while we're here. So for me personally, I want to do good while I'm here. So that's my mission. But you know let's stop focusing on all the differences, and just come together, at least in collective healing from the pandemic that affected everyone equally. At least that, if that can be a common ground, cool, let's do that. But yeah, I just really wanted to share that. So aside from the online events and things like that, we launched our press, and it's for the voice of the people, BIPOC, women run, woo woo. And I'm happy I have a team that helps as well. Gato Ska and Rosie Alonso have helped me run the press. So it just takes really great allies, and to be on that mission with you, and like Vaishali too. I love you, Vaishali, and everything that your poetry also. As a poet, you kick butt. Vaishali, you're an amazing poet. But just partner with folks that are like-minded, so we get louder and louder and louder. And there's always more people in the world than those trying to oppress the people of the world. So when all the people of the world realize that, wow, imagine how great that can be. So
Thank you.
um
Thank you so much. And yeah, I think for me, this whole session has been so inspiring listening to both of you. Uh, and listening to both of you, not just with your words, but, you are doing the hard, tangible work, both of you. Both of you have these initiatives and projects that you're already executing. And so there's lots to learn, me and the audience who is here. There are platforms like what you guys are creating, where people can start participating, and this collective can keep on growing. you know so I can't even find the right words to thank both of you, with not just your words and your art, but the actual hard work that both of you are doing. It's really incredible. I want to do more of these sessions where I want to with like speakers and activists like you, and just listening to you about your projects, and how what is what are your methods, and what are your goals and objectives, and how you're executing these projects, because I think people can learn a lot from what both of you are doing. So we will do more of this. um, I wanted to share, I just wanted to read couple of things. I I couldn't really, to be very honest, with all that is happening and all that is piling up. I couldn't even find like the right. And yeah, Jessica, you have to leave at 10:30. Shringi, do you also have to? Whenever you guys have to leave, just leave, because I'm just going to read this and then we are very likely going to wrap it up. So feel free to drop off. But yeah, so I just I couldn't even find like what could I say which could heal, you know our people and myself. I really couldn't find my poems or even like other poems. I couldn't find anything which like brings peace to my heart. But this week I was just like just doing more meditation, and with that I was reading a lot about divine feminism, and it that helped me to a certain extent. uh, when I say divine feminism, I want to be absolutely sure, absolutely clear that for me, divine feminism is not just women. Divine feminism is both. That's irrespective of the gender. So what I'm going to read here today, it's not just actually addressed to women. It's to not just our sisters but our brothers as well. The point is that to just realize that all of us have the qualities of this divine and sacred feminism, and we can use these qualities during these very, very difficult and challenging times. So I just with that wanted to read this quote actually that I found online. I don't even know who this writer is, Mishi McCoy. I haven't read her book or anything, but it's just a quote which I wanted to share today with everyone. You guys can see the screen, right? Yeah, okay. So, all right. So, to my priestess sisters, the keepers of mysteries, the medicine women, the story keepers and storytellers, the holy magicians, the wild warriors, the original ones, the ones who carry the ancients within the marrow of your bones, the ones forged in the fires, the ones who have bathed in their own blood, the heroines who wear their scars as stars, the ones who give birth to their visions and their dreams, the ones who weep and howl upon the holy altars, the avatars, the mothers, maidens, and crones, the mystics, the oracles, the artists, the musicians, the virgins, the sensual and sexual, the women of our world. I honor you. I stand for you and with you. I celebrate both your autonomy and our sisterhood of one. We are many, we are fierce, we are tender, we are the change agents, and we are radically holding and clearing space for the bursting forth of the holy seeds of the collective conscience and consciousness. We are manifestors and flames of purification and transformation. We are living our lives in authenticity, transparency, unapologetically. We are committed to integrity, impeccability, accountability, responsibility, and passionate love. We are here on purpose, with purpose, and give no energy to conformity, acceptance, or approval. We are the daughters of the earth and the courageous of the cosmos. Priestess, keep living your life passionately, raising the cosmic vibrations and lowering your standards for no one. You are brazenly blessed and a force of nature. Nurture yourself and one another. You are a crystalline bridge between realms and uniting heaven and earth. You are a priestess and you are divinely anointed, appointed, and unstoppable. So that's it. Just wanted to kind of read that because it kind of gave me, inspiration like in these very difficult times. And as I said, we'll continue to develop more on this. I know that both Shringi and Jessica has some appointments coming up. So I think I just want to wrap this up as well. Before you guys leave, any concluding remarks or anything you would like to share at the end?
Um, just that was amazing. That piece was so beautiful. Thank you, Mishi McCoy. She's the one that wrote it. Oh, thank you, sister. I hear you. I hear you. And to all my sisters and brothers, and yes, we all have dual energy in us, and it's in different balances. That is a beautiful message to share. I just wanted to invite everyone to check out the LA Poet Society, lapoetsociety.org. We have so many calls for submissions right now. And we have poetry contests. We're giving a $50 prize for jazz poems. We have $25 prize. These are contests. But we're looking for poems to teachers, poems for frontliners. So both of those are individual contests with a $25 prize. So, definitely there's room for everyone to get involved, and we would love to read everyone's work and hear from you. Everyone just continue to be safe and stay connected with us. And thank you, Vaishali, for holding space today and inviting me.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you, Jessica. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would also really like to thank you, Vaishali, for setting this up. I think it's been beautiful listening to both of you and that message from Mishi McCoy. To the people who are watching, probably for India, and because we're talking about Indian prayers and stuff, I think it's difficult times, but it is for us to really dig deep and find the poetry, the common poetry that we all certainly have, and the common poetry that can certainly combine, unite, and be the common thread amongst us to take us through these difficult times. And times have always been difficult in one way or the other. And what we need to do is we need to swim through the times while we're here, and we can help each other. And by doing just that, by finding the poetry within us, the rhythm of the world, and just uniting with that music, that's all. Like, we don't have to do more than that, just uniting with the rhythm of the world. And I hope today, with all of these amazing people here, Vaishali and Jessica, and the words that they have to say, that there has been, that we've been able to emit some of that, divine music for you to hear and connect. And I can, like, there is obviously energy here, and it's been beautiful, to be honest. So thank you, Vaishali, for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shringi. And, as I said, we covered a lot of topics today, which I want to deep dive more on, talking about poetry and some other creative projects. So hopefully we can find, some more time with both of you and other, folks in our network and do some more of these sessions. So with that, thank you, everyone. Thanks for the folks who joined, and thanks, Shringi and Jessica. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Be
Bye
safe, everybody.
bye.
Bye.